Hello and welcome to this video demonstration of the AD and LDAP authentication configurations in the FireMon Security Intelligence Platform. In today's world of security, a user will need to log into multiple applications requiring a username and password for each. Solutions such as Active Directory and Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, or LDAP, have been developed to assist with keeping user data centralized in a database so that as long as applications can pull this information from the database, users only need to input the same credentials to log into each application. FireMon works in the same way as well, integrating with AD, LDAP, Radius, and SAML. In this video, we'll begin with AD and LDAP, and we'll continue with Radius and SAML in a later video. When it's time to work on configuring the FireMon Security Manager with the authentication servers, a good idea would be to include your AD or LDAP team so they can assist with providing the information needed. Now, before we get started with the configurations for the authentication servers, we'll want to configure user groups if that hasn't been done already. Start on the administration page and click on Access and User Groups. We see there exists one group already called All Users. This is our default group in which we find the FireMon user, which by the way has full permissions on the server. Click on Create, and then we see there are two options: create a group from scratch or create a group from a template. If we choose to create from a template, the two default templates are Security Manager users and administrators. The differences in the templates are the options checked in the user group permissions section, as we will see in a moment. We can click on administrators and give the new user group an appropriate name. The assignment section is for local users who will be part of this group, but it's not necessarily needed for authentication group mapping. Now, let's take a look at the user group permissions. This is where we can configure the type of access to be allowed or disallowed to users mapped to this group. As we step through each of the tabs, we see just how granular we can make the access. Now we can click on Access menu in the blue ribbon, Authentication Servers, and then click Create to see a list of what's available. We'll start at the top with Active Directory. In the General Properties section, we will find that the configurations are rather simple, starting with the name of the authentication server's object in FireMon, the host IP address or fully qualified domain name of the AD server. We can use the default port of 389, or if the server is listening on a different port, we can change it here. There are a few options for the type of encryption if that is needed, and then we have the number of allowed connection retries as well as a timeout in seconds for each retry. Next, we enter the specific domain which will have access, and then the bind distinguish name and bind password are the credentials for the service account within the domain. Finally, we scroll to the user group mapping at the bottom, where we will map the Active Directory domain to the user group we configured before, so the users will have the permissions we allowed. We can test to ensure the configurations are correct, and then save. For smaller organizations with only a few domains, using the AD configurations in FireMon will suffice, as lookups will not take long. However, for larger organizations with multiple domains, user lookups could take several minutes. For this reason, we can leverage the use of the LDAP configurations in FireMon, even for Active Directory. This is because the configurations are granular enough to look for specific information about domains. So let's click in Access once again and go to Authentication Servers, and we'll create an LDAP server. The general properties look exactly like that for the AD configurations, but if we scroll down to the LDAP section, there's more information needed. One helpful feature is that we have examples of what the inputs should look like under each of the fields, but of course your LDAP administrator may suggest using different inputs. Along those lines, it's important to note that different clients' authentication schemes vary across the industry, and therefore integrating FireMon with those schemes could take some time, as the process may include trial and error testing. So now, we will be entering the base distinguish name, which is the root of the directory tree from where the lookups will begin. Once again, the bind distinguish name and the bind password are the credentials for the service account within the domain we are accessing. The user search base is the location in the directory tree where searches are performed. The user search filter is the query to be used to find the authenticating user. The first name attribute is not the username, but the attribute in the search results containing the user's first name. The last name attribute is the attribute in the results containing the user's last name. The email attribute is that which contains the user's email address. Under Group Schema settings, the group search base is the location in the directory tree where user searches are performed, and the group search filter is the LDAP query used for finding user groups. The search subtree option gives the ability to search completely through a hierarchy when checked, or if left unchecked, the search will be limited to a single level within the tree. Under Group Membership settings, the Group Members attribute is an optional attribute on the groups returned under the Group Search filter, which indicates the members of the group, and the Use Membership attribute is an optional attribute on the user entry that indicates the group membership of the authenticating user. Finally, just as with the AD configurations, the user group mapping is used to map the AD or LDAP user group to the groups we configured in FireMon. This can be tested like before, either with or without entering user credentials. To conclude, FireMon's integration with client authentication enables users to enter their AD or LDAP credentials. There are several configuration fields that need to be inputted, and therefore, having someone from your AD group assisting with the configurations is highly suggested. Remember as well that not all authentication schemes are created equal, so it may take some trial and error to get the configurations just right. For more information about configuring authentication servers, see the Administration User's Guide at usercenter.firemon.com.